Welcome to PayNet Online's Onboarding Dashboard. Onboarding is the process of streamlining the new hire process. Employers who use onboarding can delegate much of the routine data entry to the new hire, where they can complete their own demographic information, add dependents and emergency contacts, select their tax withholding option, sign up for direct deposit, and choose their e-signature. Setting up onboarding is a simple, yet effective way to make sure that new hires receive all their paperwork and receive a friendly, easy flow process into the payroll system. With your company specifications, we can assist you with setting up onboarding for your company. Once onboarding has been added as a service for your company, click on the Company tab. Under the Human Resources Setup box, there will be a hyperlinked onboarding selection. Clicking on Onboarding will take you to the Onboarding subtab, where you will be setting up additional specifications for your company's onboarding. When setting up onboarding, it's helpful to have the following information ready: if the group will be set up by state or cost centers, if managers will be able to request the new hires for onboarding, if direct deposit will be available and or required, if the I-9 form task will be presented to new hires, all required forms that are needed during the hiring process. Do any of the forms apply to a specific group? Welcome screen verbiage. Groups must be created before using onboarding. Creating groups helps distinguish where new hires will be placed within the company. Create groups for every state your company is in and/or by the classes or cost centers your company has set up. Groups can also be created based on the specific forms that are requested during the hiring process, such as the Form I-9 or the Form W-9. Your company is not limited to the number of groups that can be created, and it can be as simple as creating just one group. To create a group, click on the Company tab, and then click on the hyperlinked onboarding selection under the Human Resources Setup box. Within this onboarding screen, click on the Setup subtab. At the bottom of the screen, click on Add. Under the Group Setup Details section, make the following selections. Next to group code, enter the name of the group, such as Field, Administration, or 1099. Next to description, enter a meaningful description of the group name. Select the pay frequency this group will have, such as weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. If applicable, select the workers' compensation code next to Workers' Comp. Select the new hires group type next to EMP type. These can include regular full-time and temporary part-time. Select your company's point of contact next to Contact. This person will be the responsible contact for this group of new hires. Contacts are initially set up within the Company Contacts page. Onboarding can be made available to managers on the kiosk, allowing them to submit basic new hire data to be approved prior to the new hire tasks being generated. If it is determined that managers can request new hires to be onboarded for this particular group, select the box next to Allow Manager Requests. If direct deposit selection is going to be available to the new hire during the onboarding process, this will allow new hires to enter this information at this time. If direct deposit is going to be available, select the box next to Direct Deposit Available. Depending on some states' laws, direct deposit can be a requirement. If this is the case, select the box next to Require Direct Deposit. If you want a new hire to skip the I-9 form compliance task during onboarding, you can select the box next to I-9 step not presented. This can be used, for example, if the group is for 1099 individuals, or if you are collecting I-9 form information from a different system. Within the No Start Retention Period box, this is used to determine how long to retain information for new hires who never started or completed their new hire packet, and for those new hires who were rejected. The default value is 12 months. Under the Organization section, you may narrow your group code based on the cost centers you have set up for your company. These selections can be overridden on an employee-by-employee basis once the new hire is in the system, so these selections are not required to be made on this group setup screen. Depending on how many cost codes have been set up for your company, you may have from 1 to 5 drop-down boxes to select from. Choose those which pertain to the particular new hire group you are setting up. Under the Tax Information section, make the following selections. Next to Tax Form, select the tax form this group will be using, such as the W-2 or 1099. Next to Federal, select the correct federal tax which applies to this group. If the group is a W-2, next to State, select the correct state which applies to this group. And next to Unemployment, select the correct state which applies to this group. If there are any employer PSD codes and/or local taxes, select as appropriate from any drop-down box. Once all areas are selected for this group, click on Save. Importing a setup group copies the setup group code, the setup group settings, and any related instructions from the company selected. When one imports a setup group, only the required and optional fields with matching values between the two companies will be copied. Fields with values that do not match will be left blank and must then be filled out manually. The import process requires that the pay frequency of the company that you want to copy from matches an available pay frequency of the company you want to copy to. In order to start this process, click on the Import Setup Group button. Select the company you want to import from the top drop-down list. Select the onboarding group you want to import from the bottom drop-down list. Once completed, click on Import. In order to edit a group code, select the appropriate group code. Update the fields as needed, then click the Save button. In order to delete a group code, select the appropriate code group and click the Delete button. It is recommended to not make changes to or delete existing group codes while there are new hire setup packets that have been started but not yet submitted. It can result in new hires not being able to complete their packets or needing managers to manually complete the process for the new hire. There are multiple tasks that new hires will go through when completing the onboarding process. For each of these tasks, you are able to set up customized instructions to help guide them through the process. As a default, there's already an instruction information button on each task page, which gives new hires contact information for their onboarding group contact, should they have any questions during the onboarding process. This point of contact was designated when setting up groups. To create instructions, click on the Company tab, and then click on the hyperlinked onboarding selection under the Human Resources Setup box. Within this onboarding screen, click on the Instructions subtab. At the bottom of the screen, click on Add. Under the Configure Instructions section, you will select the particular task that pertains to the instruction that you are customizing. Click on the Task drop-down button and select the most relevant task that you'll be making customized instructions for. The options include Additional Info, Basic Info, Dependents, Direct Deposit, Emergency Contacts, Compliance, Configure e-sign, Review and Submit, Taxes, and Welcome. Enter the display sequence number, which will specify the sequence the instructions are shown during the onboarding process for the new hire. The display sequence does not change the order of the workflow tasks that each new hire will do, except for the welcome tasks, which has a sequence of 1 and 2. All other tasks have a sequence of 1. Under the Status section, if the active box is checked, it will be an instruction which will appear for the new hire during the onboarding process. If the instructions are important for a new hire, an alert or warning symbol will be generated and will reflect next to the instructions heading for this area. To set this up, select the box next to Important. When doing the onboarding process, some instructions will display on the page that is loaded, and other instructions will require the new hire to click on a magnifying glass icon to see the full instructions on the loaded page. To set up instructions to be displayed when loaded, click the box next to Display on Load. To filter instructions to a single onboarding group, use the drop-down box next to Applies to Setup. Select the group that these instructions are being created for. You can only attach one group per instruction, so if you need to do a custom entry for 3 different groups, you'll have to add the instructions in 3 times for each group. Under the Instruction Text section, you will enter a heading for this particular instruction. In the Instructions box, add any additional details to assist with completing this particular instruction. Once all areas are completed for this instruction, click on Save. In order to edit an instruction task, select the appropriate task, update the fields as needed, then click the Save button. In order to delete an instruction task, select the appropriate task, then click the Delete button. The Customizations section allows you to manipulate and customize the task pages a new hire will complete during the onboarding process. You can add notes, links, and documents to the welcome and submit tasks in onboarding. You can also add custom tab tasks that can display throughout the onboarding process if they pertain to your company. For example, your company provides uniforms for employees, so uniform size selections are given to new hires to select when during the onboarding process. Note: please contact your service bureau prior to attempting to add a custom tab so they can assist you with setting up custom tabs. All forms that new hires will need to fill out and complete will be entered in the customization setup. Although not required, it is recommended that these documents are in PDF format. To create customizations, click on the Company tab and then click on the hyperlinked onboarding selection under the Human Resources Setup box. Within this onboarding screen, click the Customizations subtab. At the bottom of the screen, click on Add. Under the Configure Items section, you will select the location the customization will appear in during the onboarding process, the Welcome section, the Submit section, or a Custom section, where you will select Custom tab. For either the Welcome section or the Submit section, enter the display sequence number, which will specify the sequence the customization will reflect during the onboarding process for the new hire, based on the location that was selected. Select the item type, where there are 4 different options: a document, such as directions to utilize your company's employee kiosk; a note, such as a note welcoming the new hire to your company; a link, such as the link to your company's employee kiosk page; or an electronic form, such as an electronic form to be completed, electronically signed, and electronically submitted. If an electronic form item type is selected, a custom form drop-down list will appear, where the electronic form item type will need to be selected. If the active box is checked, the customization will appear for the new hire during the onboarding process. If something needs to be read or checked before proceeding to the next task, click in the box next to Require Signature. The new hire will need to put their initials confirming that they've read or checked what's required. If this particular task needs to reflect that it is from a particular person or department, such as a signature that is coming from the HR department, you can put this in the Custom Signature text box. If this customization applies to a single group that was set up, you can select this group in the Applies to Setup drop-down box. You can only attach one group per customization, so if you need to do a custom entry for 3 different groups, you'll have to add 3 different customizations for each group. Under the Item Details section, you will need to add whatever applies to the item type you selected above. If you selected a document, you'll need to add a heading and select a document to upload by clicking on Load or Update. A description is optional. If you selected a note, you'll need to add a heading and then add a note by clicking on the Open Rich Text Editor. A description is optional. If you selected a link, you'll need to add a heading and add the link to the box next to URL. A description is optional. If you selected an electronic form, you'll need to add a heading and will select the custom form from the drop-down list. A description is optional. If you select a custom tab location, you will only have one more selection to choose from. Within the drop-down box next to Custom Form, select which one applies. Once all areas are completed for any of these customizations, click on Save. In order to edit a customization, select the appropriate customization, update the fields as needed, then click the Save button. In order to delete a customization, select the appropriate customization, then click the Delete button. Within another section of setting up onboarding for your company, you'll need to designate who will be a point of contact for new hires to reach out if they have any questions during the onboarding process. New hires will see a contact's first name, last name, email address, and work phone. Contacts used in the onboarding setup will also receive an email notification every time a new hire has completed and submitted their new hire packet. To set this up, click on the Company tab, and then click on the hyperlinked Company Contacts selection under the Master Company Setup box. On this page, highlight the contacts you will be designating as a setup point of contact. Within the Attributes section on the line that reflects Setup, click on the check mark to the left of Setup. This will designate this contact as a setup point of contact, and their information will be listed on the new hire's employee self-service kiosk. You will then put a 1 in the custom field box next to Setup. Once completed, click on the check mark again to the left of Setup, as this saves the changes you have just made. To remove this contact from being a setup point of contact, click on the X to the left of the check mark. When designating contacts, each contact with access to the company can set up notifications they can receive. For onboarding, there are 2 notifications available: Onboard Employee Submitted Onboarding Package and Onboarding Employee Not Yet Completed Onboarding Package. To set up these notifications, click on Home and then click on the Notifications subtab. Clicking on Manage Notifications on the left side of the screen will allow each contact to add and manage notifications for a variety of events. The onboarding dashboard will show you every new hire and/or employee who has been created through onboarding. It is the central command for all of the onboarding steps. Start onboarding a new hire, see the status and what steps a new hire has completed during the onboarding process, and complete a new hire's onboarding process, ultimately adding them to the company's payroll. To access the onboarding dashboard, click on the Company tab, and then click on the hyperlinked onboarding selection under the Human Resources Setup box. Within this onboarding screen, click on the Onboarding Dashboard subtab. You can also access the onboarding dashboard by clicking on Dashboards on the homepage, then clicking on the Onboarding Dashboard subtab. Under the Onboarding section, there is one task to begin the process of onboarding a new hire. To begin, click on Onboard Employee. Select the group that the new hire will be associated with. Not all sections need to be completed, but at the least, all of the new hire's basic information needs to be completed. When finished, click on Save. You will be given a confirmation message on the top of the page, which will let you know who the new hire's point of contact will be, and that the new hire will receive an email letting them know that they can access the kiosk and complete the onboarding process. The task of onboarding new hires can also be accessed and completed in two other ways. When on the homepage, click on Add Employee and select Onboarding. You will be directed to the same Onboarding Employee dashboard. Another way is, as a manager, within the Employee Self-Service kiosk, click on the Onboarding tab. The Hire Employee subtab will pop up, where the group the new hire will be associated with will need to be selected underneath the Request New Employee section. Once the group is selected, not all of the selections that reflect need to be completed, but at the least, all of the new hire's basic information needs to be completed. When finished, click on Save. After saving, click on the Notify Contact, as this sends an email to the onboarding group point of contact, letting them know that there is a new hire who needs to be processed. Once a new hire has been added in this manner by a manager, they will reflect on the onboarding dashboard. But one more step will need to be taken in order to have the new hire receive an email letting them know that they can access the kiosk and complete the onboarding process. Return to the dashboard and click on the new hire's name, which should be listed at the top of the list on the dashboard. When their information pops up, enter the new hire's email address twice. Then, scroll down to the bottom of the page. If they're going to be hired and you'd like them to receive the kiosk email, put a check mark next to the approved, and then click on Save. You will be given a confirmation message on the top of the page, which will let you know that the new hire will receive an email letting them know that they can access the kiosk and complete the onboarding process. If another email needs to be sent to the new hire, return to the dashboard by clicking on the Onboarding Dashboard subtab in the upper left corner of the screen. Then, locate the new hire's name, which will most likely now be listed at the bottom of the list on the dashboard. To the right of the new hire's name, there will be an envelope icon. Click on this icon and an email will automatically be sent to the new hire so they can access the kiosk and complete their onboarding process. Under the Grid Filter section, there are filtering options that can be changed to reflect what is shown on the dashboard. As a default, the pending employee box is always checked, but you can select any of them to hired, pending, and/or reject new hires. The hire dates default to the current year, but can be changed as needed. The search function allows you to search by employee name and/or the onboard group. The dashboard has set columns, but by clicking on the arrows next to each of the columns, you can filter the new hires by each of the columns. Typically, the set columns include first name, last name, hire date, cost codes such as department or location, group, federal income tax, state income tax, direct deposit, I-9 form completion by the new hire, I-9EE, I-9 form completion by the employer, I-9ER, and custom, any custom requirements requested by the company for the new hire to complete during onboarding, and/or forms, any signed forms or documents requested by the company for the new hire to complete. Each column on the dashboard reflects an icon that shows where in the onboarding process the new hire is at. A legend for these icons is at the bottom of the screen. If a new hire has been sent the automatically generated onboarding email so they can access the ESS kiosk and complete their onboarding package, an envelope icon will reflect next to the group column on that new hire's row in the dashboard. If the new hire needs another email sent to them for any reason, clicking the envelope will send them another email so they can access the ESS kiosk and complete the onboarding process. If any changes need to be made to the new hire's information, clicking on the new hire's name allows you to do so. When this screen opens up, you can edit some of the new hire's basic information, such as their name, social security number, birth date, contact information, and hire date. You can also change their position or organization. This includes their type of employee and cost centers. You can also change their pay rate and salary details. These include pay type and pay frequency. And you can approve or reject employee. By clicking on the box next to rejected will reject this new hire. If any changes were made, click on Save. To return to the dashboard, click on the Onboarding Dashboard subtab in the upper left corner of the screen. Once all tasks have been completed by the new hire, The final option given is to complete the new hire so they can become an employee in the company's system. The complete icon will only be visible on the dashboard once the new hire has completed all of their onboarding tasks and submitted all of their information. Please note that the I-9 form completion task needed by the employer, the I-9ER, does not need to be completed by the employer in order to complete the new hire's onboarding process. It can be completed at a later time. When you're ready to complete the onboarding process for the new hire, click on Complete. On this screen, which is the New Hire Wizard page, review the new hire's information and make any necessary changes within the different sections. The new hire's employee ID will already be reflected as what was already defaulted or listed in prior steps. Should the ID need to be changed for any reason, this is the only place to override the ID before the new hire becomes an employee. If a new hire is not eligible to be hired, or if they never start working, they can be rejected on this screen by clicking on the Reject Employee button in the bottom right section of the screen. Once everything has been reviewed, click on Create Employee. Now, the new hire has been added to the company's system as an employee, and on the onboarding dashboard, their status will reflect as hired. Although the I-9 employer task is not required in order to complete the new hire's onboarding process within the system, you can complete this task while in the onboarding dashboard. On the screen is a list of acceptable documents the new hire must present to your company within 3 business days of their first day of employment. The new hire may present one selection from List A or a combination of one selection from List B and one selection from List C. Click on the Edit icon below the I-9ER column on the row with the new hire's name. Within that window that pops up, you will verify your review of the I-9 form. You will document the identification information that the new hire provided in either the List A tab or the List B and C tab. Electronically sign the form in the Signature tab and click Save. W-4s and any other documents that the new hire filled out when doing the onboarding process, minus the I-9 form, can be located by clicking on the HR tab on the homepage, clicking on the Documents subtab, and then clicking on the Employees Docs subtab. Search for the new hire, now an employee, by selecting the drop-down menus within the box next to Employee. If needed, use the Sort and Filter drop-down options to help locate this new employee. Completed I-9 forms can be found in the Documents portal. Click on the Documents tab on the homepage, and then click on the I-9 Documents subtab. By default, all I-9 forms will reflect when the page populates, no matter when they were filled out or by what type of document the form is. The forms can be filtered by the year the I-9 form was completed. This can be done by clicking on any of the years reflected by year. Each result reflects the employee's ID number, the employee's name, their hire date, the Section 1 date, the Section 2 date, the employee's termination date, and the I-9's form expiration date. In order to view an I-9 form, click on the PDF View icon to the left of the employee's ID number. If any I-9 document information needs to be adjusted, click on the Edit icon to the left of the PDF View icon, and adjustments can be made within the pop-up window. If anything is adjusted on a line within this window, the Save icon on the far right section of each line needs to be clicked. Once completed, click on OK. Once an employee has received an invitation, they will be brought to the New Hire Overview. This is where new hires will register on the ESS kiosk and will begin filling out their information in the system. Any changes that need to be made to their information, along with any necessary documents to fill out, will be made during this process. The first thing that the new hire will receive is an email letting them know that they have been selected to become a new hire within your company, and that they need to fill out their new hire information on the employee self-service kiosk. Once the new hire receives the email, they will click on either the mobile device link or the computer link to open the ESS kiosk. They will need to register by making a password in order to access their account. Once they enter their password twice, they will click on Register. The next screen that pops up will confirm that their registration was complete. They will click on Return to Login page, where the next screen will allow them to enter their username and password. When complete, they will click on Log In. Once new hires have logged on, they will be taken to the welcome screen, where they will begin the onboarding tasks. They will need to go through each of the tasks, which are reflected on the left side of the screen. Once a task has been completed, it will reflect as green. Gray means the task has not been completed. Detailed instructions for some of the tasks will be listed beneath Instructions, located on the top of the screen. If any documents need to be reviewed, they will need to click on the magnifying glass icon to the left of the document name. If acknowledgement of reviewing a document is needed, after reviewing it, they will need to click on the green box to the right side of the document name within this task. In the next screen that pops up, they will need to provide their electronic signature within the signature box. Once each task has been completed, click on Save and Continue in the bottom right of the screen. Any task can be saved and revisited any time by clicking on the Save within the task and then clicking on any other task to the left side of the screen. If any task or the entire onboarding process needs to be refreshed or restarted, click on the green Restart button in the bottom left section of the screen. Within the Configure eSign task, the new hire will select one of the 3 electronic signature options. This electronic signature has the same meaning as a manual handwritten signature and will be used by the new hire to sign onboarding documents and agreements. Once completed, they will click on Save and Continue. Within the Basic Info task, the sections which must be completed have a red asterisk next to the box's title. If applicable, they will fill out any dependents within the Dependents task. If no dependents, click on Save and Continue. Listing any dependents is done by clicking on the hyperlinked Add Dependent in the top right of the screen and completing all of the sections. Within the Taxes task, they will select their federal tax filing status and any exemptions if applicable, and select their state tax filing status and any exemptions if applicable. After clicking Save, they can view their federal W-4 tax form and their state tax form by clicking on the magnifying glass icons near the bottom of the page. The Direct Deposit task can be either optional or required. If they elect to set up their direct deposit information, they will click on the circle next to Yes. On the next screen, once they enter all their direct deposit information, they will need to click the plus sign on the left side of the screen in order for their data to be added to the system. After all accounts have been added, the Direct Deposit Authorization Agreement must be read and agreed to before proceeding to the next task. Within the Emergency Contacts task, in order to add a contact, they will need to click on the hyperlinked Add Contact in the top right of the screen, completing all of the sections which have a red asterisk next to the box's title. The Compliance task is where employees will fill out their I-9 form. They will read the options and select the one which best represents their status. If any further tasks need to be completed, they will reflect after the Compliance task. Please note that the I-9 form completion task needed by your company will need to be completed within 3 business days of the new hire's first day of employment. The final task, Review and Submit, is the reviewing of any documents, if applicable, and submitting their information for review. If any documents need to be reviewed, they will need to click on the magnifying glass icon to the left of the document name. If any documents need to be signed, once they've clicked on the magnifying glass icon, they will sign the document wherever it needs to be signed, then hit Complete Form. If acknowledgement of reviewing a document is needed, after reviewing it, they will need to click on the green box to the right of the document name within this task. In the next screen that pops up, they will need to provide their electronic signature with the signature box. Then hit Complete. The next screen that pops up is an electronic signature page, which reflects all of the forms that will be electronically signed by the new hire's electronic submission. They will need to click in the box next to Sign Here, and their e-signature will appear in the box. Then, they will hit Complete. After this has been done, the new hire's information will be sent through the system, and the status of each task will reflect on the company's onboarding dashboard. If needed, the new hire can access the ESS kiosk anytime after hitting Complete to re-sign their documents by clicking on the hyperlinked Re-Sign icon in the bottom right section of the page, as long as the employer hasn't already completed their task of making a new hire an employee in the system. They can also download a copy of the documents that they submitted through the system. Any reviewed company documents, such as their federal W-4 tax form, their state tax form, and/or their I-9 form. This is done by clicking on the magnifying glass icon near the bottom of the page.
Save time for yourself and your company today with PayNet Online's Streamlined onboarding service. Choose PayNet Online for a smoother, more efficient new hire experience.